Hey everybody, is the mic on? Yes. Okay, we're doing it.
Nice.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode Devil Horns of OK Podcast with Bad People. With me,
Hello.
Fat Bob Ross, and the always beautiful Robert.
I don't get a nickname.
I was going to say Skinny Notorious B.I.G., but then I was like, But then I said it
Yeah,
anyway.
I think that's probably a good call.
Yeah,
But,
no one.
I mean, yeah, that's a good joke, but maybe a little. I don't know. I don't know what I'm. You know what I'm trying to say that I
Do
don't
I?
have the words to say.
Oh man, 5
I don't know.
emotes shared. Nice.
Ooh,
Thanks for the left snowman arm, Fabulous Owl Riot. That's what I got.
nice. How do you know what you got?
It shows the picture in because I got a little pop up that was like, "Do you want to thank the person in chat for your gift?"
Okay. Yeah, I got like a bird thing. Oh, it's a turtle dove.
Nice.
It's a haha turtle dove.
Now we have all the emotes.
Indeed.
But anyway, we're here to talk about, as you can see behind me, this very well-known and not at all obscure Canadian cartoon, Rock and Rule.
Yeah.
And then, in honor of the Game Awards tonight, we're going to beat them to the punch. And
Yeah.
we're going to give our top 10 games of the year.
We were doing top 10?
Sorry, just top games of the year. I'm just used to saying top 10. Top number between probably 1 and 17. But anyway, Robert, before we start, do you have anything for us?
I do have a deep dive for you.
Excellent. Well, please take it away.
Yeah.
Skinny
So
guy.
We'll figure out a better nickname for me.
Yes.
But yeah, so as I'm sure you're aware, I've been playing a shitload of Pokemon.
I am aware
You know,
of
my
that.
favorite type of Pokemon is Ghost Pokemon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't?
You've never said it.
Really?
In fact, I hate Ghost Pokemon. Chandler is a giant pile of shit.
Okay, you're just fucking with me.
Yes.
But anyways, Ghost Pokemon there's a sort of infamous Pokedex entry for Drifloon about how it snatches up children and takes them away.
Oh, hello.
But what's going on? Okay.
I don't know. I think that might be a bot. Hello, streaming for chicks.
But what you might not know is that there are a ton of other.
They're real.
Oh,
hello,
no, real person.
Sorry.
Hi.
Normally, when we get big blocks of text, it's from someone who's not real.
We get a lot of bots, or at least I don't know. That's maybe like 10% of the people who visit our channel. Not sex bots. Usually it's some guy who wants us to like pay him to make overlays and stuff. But anyways, so there are also a lot of other weird entries for Ghost Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it would be fun to do the game that we usually do where there's 3 real ones and one that I made up and you get to guess. And then I'll tell you.
I know
if you're interested
7 Pokemon, so this will probably go great.
Well, I mean, this I think will be more about making judgment calls of like which of these insane things are an actual thing that they put in the Pokemon game. Where are we called? This is a talk show.
I think they're trying to figure out what our Discord is to hop in.
Oh, okay. He's asking if I'm in my sister's room. No, this is my room. I just collect all this stuff.
He's an avid collector of things.
I'm an avid collector of things.
Moe and alike.
Indeed. But anyways, so you know how the game goes?
I do know how
I'm going to
it
read
goes.
you 4 Pokedex entries. I don't think we have a call-in. Do you want to do a call-in thing?
I don't think we do right now. Yeah, we don't have Discord really set up for other people to pop in.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. Sorry, streaming for chicks. We hope you find a talk show to spread the love of Lamont.
So we got entry. All right. I'm just gonna go.
Pokemon Ghost.
4
one's real. One's fake.
Is it A? This Pokemon finds bad children who won't listen to their parents and steals them. B. This Pokemon finds children and frightens them so that they run in terror and become lost, hopefully forever. C. This Pokemon guides lost children to the afterlife. The younger the souls it absorbs, the brighter the flame burns. Or D. This Pokemon disguises itself as an adult and tricks children into taking its hands. Then it leads them into the afterlife.
I'm going to say the last one is made up.
Nope. The last one is real. It was the second one.
Which one was that?
The one about the Pokemon that frightens children so that they become lost, hopefully forever.
Gotcha.
Will also called D, though.
Looks like we're both Pokemon idiots.
All right, round 2. So, this Pokemon derives happiness from imitating the sounds of weeping in order to frighten people. B. This Pokemon hides itself in a beverage and saps the life force of those who drink it. C. This Pokemon disguises itself as a coffin and traps grave robbers who get too close. Or D. This Pokemon hovers outside the windows of its victims and in whispers describes their nightmares, hoping to drive them insane.
I'm gonna have to say the coffin one only because I've never seen a coffin Pokemon, and I'm sure I would have seen one by now.
There is a coffin Pokemon, and that one's real.
Son of a bitch.
It's called Coffegregious.
Pokemon
pretty
is
cool.
stupid.
Will wants A and B again. A was the Pokemon that derives happiness from frightening people by making the sounds of weeping. That's Mischievous. And then B was the Pokemon that hides itself in a beverage and saps the life force of people who drink it, which is Sinistea.
Oh,
Sinistea evolves into Poltegeist.
gotcha.
So, pretty close. All right.
So D was the fake one.
D was the fake one.
Oh man, we were one question too early.
All right. Well, you got 2 more rounds, 2 more chances. All right. So A, this Pokemon plays a haunting melody, which can only be heard by one person. If they try to find where the song is coming from, they will be led to their own demise. B, this Pokemon has a tongue made of poison gas. If it licks someone, they begin to shiver uncontrollably and eventually die. C, this Pokemon swallows its enemies whole, eats their souls, and spits out the soulless body. Or D, this Pokemon has an enormous mouth, which is said to be a tunnel not to its stomach, but directly to the afterlife. Those who stand near it can hear the voices of their loved ones calling out to them.
All right, so we're going to move on to Rock and Rule because the world of Pokemon is a NyQuil-induced fever dream that no one should have to live through.
That's kind of what I was hoping. Like, you always hear the Drifloon one, but so many of these are so crazy, right?
Yep. They're all terrible. Every single one of them. I have no guesses on any of them, Robert.
It was the first one. But
man.
Do you want the last round?
Go for it. I just don't even give a shit anymore. I'm not going to bed.
All right. So A, this Pokemon is born from a stuffed toy, which was thrown away and felt so much resentment at having been thrown away that it sprung to life in order to take revenge.
I know that is for sure a Pokemon. I know that one.
All right. B, this Pokemon is born from a severed arm. It hunts tirelessly for the body to which it was once attached. But if it can't be found, it will attempt to trick a victim into dangerous situations, hoping that they will lose a limb which it can replace.
I think that one is fake.
This Pokemon is born when a lost child dies in the forest. It calls out to adults so that it can lure them to their deaths as well. Or D, this Pokemon is born when someone is killed with a sword and comes back to life to possess the very sword which killed them. You're still locking in on B?
I'm going to go B.
You know me too well.
Because I was like, I feel like I would have heard of that one too, but that one is so insane because it's multiple layers of dismemberment.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was our deep dive into the Ghost Pokedex.
May we never do it again. But man, I didn't expect to get people who wanted to call us on Discord.
Yeah. I mean, that could be maybe a fun thing to set up. I guess it's a little bit risky because if you get people in and then they start saying TOS stuff, but we don't have anyone here to report us for TOS anyways, so.
That's true. But anyway, now that we're out of the appetizer, starting digging into the main course, that being the movie behind me, Rock and Rule, the 1983 animated cult film.
Indeed.
Starring no one that you know of in terms of acting. I didn't know any of them. But
yeah, I knew some of the names of people, but
I've known some of their work, but like when I've like because they don't even say like when you watch the trailer, it's not like starring and then people. It's just featuring the music of Cheap Trick, Lou Reed, Iggy Pop, and I was just like, okay, I know who these bands are.
Yeah.
But anyway, this was my pick. It's a movie that I had seen like shots from for a long time, but never knew what it was until pretty recently when someone like saw it like in a top 10 video on YouTube or something. And I wanted to give it a look because the animation looked good and it was old, and I was like, man, why not? So this is the first time either of us has seen it, and I'll ask Robert.
Yeah.
I know you seem super excited to talk about it, so what did you think about it?
I did not like this movie.
All right.
I mean, I can elaborate some on that, but I'll just ask you first. How did you feel about it?
It was fine.
It was fine.
That's about where I was. I don't think this is the worst movie we've watched. I wouldn't even put it in the bottom 3.
Oh, really?
Yes.
This is definitely in the bottom 3 for me.
But that's fine, you're wrong. But you're allowed to be wrong on the internet.
Well, okay, well, let me guess. So I know one of your bottom 3 has got to be Little Panda Fighter.
Little Panda Fighter, the Motherfuckers,
Okay.
and Halloween 3.
Mm.
Those are my bottom 3 of the ones we've watched. This one might be 4 or 5, but no, like I didn't dislike this movie. At most, I was disappointed in it. Like, not to the same extent I was disappointed with Motherfuckers. It was like, oh man, they built this cool world and they set up all these weird story things and then don't pay off. This one was just, I honestly expected it to be more rock music than it was.
Yeah.
But one, for as old as it was and the budget being as small as it was, I think they did a good job with it. It tells a cohesive story where I can clearly go, here's the introduction, rising action, climax, fall, conclusion. And I don't feel like they introduced any characters and then did nothing with them. It was just a movie that was way more style than substance, and the style feels like it was for people from the 80s and we're not from the 80s, so even that kind of sometimes. Yeah. I think my biggest thing is I was hoping to hear like famous songs from all of the bands, but then my dumb brain was like, those cost ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
They couldn't afford to do that.
Yeah, well, I feel like the music is mediocre at best.
Yes.
Admittedly, it's not like a genre of music that I have much fondness for, but
I thought the first song they did in the whole movie was probably the best one. Like, I agree, liked it. Yeah. Born to Raise Hell, that one was fine. But also the version I was watching, the mixing was bad because there isn't a version of this that I know of that is I think the fanciest version of this is a laser disc. But all of the like audio compression's pretty bad. So like sometimes when they're singing, like it's just not mixed very well. So yeah. The soundscape for this movie wasn't very strong, which is very unfortunate for a movie that is based on music.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, what are some of your reasons why you didn't like this movie? Also, cool shirt. I just noticed it's the Overlook Hotel.
Thank you. I wore this for a Shining review also.
I couldn't remember. Now I remember now. But sorry.
Yeah.
So what about this?
So like, I would say for me, so part of it is just that I'm almost a little bit confused about like who this movie is for. Like, narratively and in terms of the characters, like I think what you say is true, that it's like a comprehensible story and it has like a basic structure that makes sense. But I also think most of the characters are either irritating or forgettable. And then like I also think the story is so basic that to me, like, it really reads like a children's movie, and yet there are things in this movie that feel like they are not meant for children, even though it's rated PG, which surprised me when I found that out.
This was in a time before PG-13.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the thing, is I don't think this was for children at all. This feels like a movie for teenagers, like early 20s. like that. Yeah, but this was the
Yeah.
PG-13 didn't exist until I believe the early '90s.
Okay.
Like
So
fuck, what was it? You could watch nudity in PG movies like in the '80s.
gotcha. Okay. That makes a lot of sense then. That clarifies some things for me. But I still like, I don't know, I feel like as a 20-year-old, and maybe it's just because I wasn't a 20-year-old in the 80s, and like the media that I grew up with is maybe more complicated and has more nuances, and
Mm-hmm.
there's more like interested things going on. But the story felt like a story for kids.
Yep.
But then there's all the stuff that is not for kids in it. Um, so there was some dissonance for me there, but then also just like I didn't like or care about any of the characters. I, there's a couple who I were like kind of fine. Um, but I also like the music was not great. It's mediocre at best. Some of it I think was actively bad, but um, and then yeah, I don't know. Like I I understand your like I think it's a valid point to say like this is a movie from the 80s and they did not have a huge budget, and so like you have to maybe judge the animation with some of that in mind. But I've also seen like older movies with lower budgets where like even though the animation is a lot jankier, it felt more interesting to me.
Do you have
Like
any examples?
I do. Fantastic Planet was the one that I was going to bring up. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's a really interesting movie. Um, it's kind of like animated, almost with the same sort of technology that I think like
Monty
the OG
Python.
South Parks used. Yeah, or Monty Python. But like, it's a much more interesting movie in my opinion.
This looks arty as fuck.
Yeah, it definitely is. But it's also really cool.
Maybe. I don't know. That immediately just looks. That looks like a Robert movie.
Yeah,
As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Hey, Mister
it is
Burt."
a. Hey, it is a French movie, so yeah,
Yeah.
pretty arty, but I think it's good.
The best I could describe this movie, I would call it like a bowl of oatmeal with like a sprinkling of cinnamon in it.
Yeah,
Rock and Roll is a movie about after the world blows up in World War III, a whole bunch of mouse people basically take over the world, and the main villain's trying to summon a demon, and these rock people have to stop him, and
yeah,
it's okay. I like as soon as I saw what the movie started being, my brain had to start reevaluating. Like this is an early '80s film that had a lot of trouble in production.
hmm.
So I'm willing to give it a lot of slack because I do think it was charming. I think there were some visuals in this movie that were very cool, like the. Now I might get a C in science. Ah, that sucks. On the bright side, it is still passing. But yeah, like when Mox, I think one I say I liked Mock as a character. He was the one like I had seen so many gifs and stuff of his character, and like
Hmm.
how his face was animated that I was like, what is this? And I
Yeah.
thought he was the best character in this, and I will probably remember him for a while.
I don't know. He didn't stand out. He felt very tropey to me, but it would also be fair to say that like he probably came at a time before a lot of the tropes that he feels
Mhm.
tropey to. Like I don't. He reminded me a lot of like Scar from Lion King, although it's been a long ass time since I watched Lion King, so maybe I'm misremembering.
Oh,
But
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong because connections are personal to everyone, but I that does, to me doesn't they don't mesh at all.
yeah,
Um,
but I don't know. Like his motivations just felt kind of dumb
Oh,
to me.
that's not what I'm saying is memorable. I'm just saying like his mannerisms and how he was drawn and animated. That's
Yeah.
how I will remember him. And his voice work. I think his voice was very good
Hmm.
for what it was. I think the voicing for this was really good.
Yeah.
There wasn't
His
anyone.
name was
Mhm.
originally supposed to be Mock Swagger.
It is his name.
Well, no, Mick Jagger's like legal team made them change it.
Oh, because it's called Mock Swagger in the second anniversary release.
Huh. Okay. Well,
'Cause
I don't
there's
know. That was what
4
I read in the
versions of this
IMDb
movie.
trivia.
I mean, that might be what it was earlier, but yeah, like there's like 4
Yeah.
versions of this movie.
Hmm.
What? Hopefully, we both saw the Canadian
I have
version.
no idea. Well, it
The,
was a Canadian animated film, wasn't it?
yeah, there's the Canadian version, and then there were 2 versions of that, and then they brought over the American one where they changed the lead actor's voice actor and they cut out a bunch of stuff that was deemed.
Hmm.
They tried to make it into a kids movie. Did
Gotcha.
they say shit in the version you were watching?
I don't think so. I wonder if I watched the American version, and that's why I don't like it as much as you.
Um, did everyone? Oh, here's another one. Did everyone when they went to the dance club? Did they have very prominent nipples?
Yeah.
Okay, then I think you were watching the right. That was a weird.
Okay.
But yeah, like they cut out stuff like that and things to make it
Hmm.
fit more. But yeah, and one of them does say mock swagger. I mean, yeah, mock
Okay.
swagger, and that's like Mick Jagger joke. Even though he's physically based off of Iggy Pop,
Hmm.
which is another reason I'll probably remember him because Iggy Pop's a huge weirdo, and this is the second cartoon version of Iggy Pop that I have seen.
Yeah. I think part of what also felt a little disappointing about him to me is that to me his song is by far the worst song in the movie.
Which one? He has 2 shitty songs.
My name is Mock. Thanks a lot.
Yes, that
It's
song is.
so fucking terrible.
Yes,
I went back and rewatched it just because it was so bad.
yes. It. But to me, part of it that made me laugh because I was like, he's supposed
Yeah.
to be the best in the world,
Yeah.
and I was like, was it so bad on purpose? But probably it's they gave Lou Reed $500 and they're like, you have 2 days to write songs, or our studio's going under. And Lou Reed went, all right. My name is Mark. Thanks a lot. That doesn't rhyme. Oh, it's lunch. It now rhymes. But my
Oh,
biggest
man.
disappointment is I thought there was going to be a lot more because how I was singing, sorry, I skipped a word before I moved ahead, is that this was described as a rock opera to me.
Yeah.
And I expected there to be parts where like the heroes would be singing at the villain would then explain his like motivation in song.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't that. It's just a band thing.
It's a lot closer to like the way that Disney music or Disney movies work, where like it's a normal movie, but sometimes the characters break into song.
Well, I wouldn't
And
say that. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt you.
you're right. Because the songs are more diegetic than they are.
Yeah,
in a
they're also
Disney
like
movie.
narrative, and they do. This is just when people are singing, they're doing it because they are singing to perform
Yeah.
or summon a demon. But I getting back to what I was saying originally is I think there are some really cool visuals in here, like when Mock's house turns into a blimp. Like that looked really cool. And then another thing I thought was cool is during the cross country road trip, the light bridge that they drive over. I was like, that's cool and very 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a movie that like I kept trying to think of like what do we want to talk about. It's one that like I will probably never watch it again,
Mm-hmm.
and I might think about it from time to time, but I can't be like, ugh. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
bummed when it was over like I was with Motherfuckers. Like when that one was done, I was like upset. I was like, oh my god, that movie just pissed me off.
Yeah.
But this is not at all like Tokyo Godfathers, or when it was over, I was like, oh man, that was everything I wanted.
Yeah.
But the one thing this movie did remind me of, which is a suggestion for something to watch in the future, which I know is a very good movie, is Heavy Metal. Which, are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I think I am. I haven't seen it, but
'Cause
I
that's a very
know
famous
what it is.
movie.
Yeah.
And that's why this movie was made. It was made, if I remember correctly, when I was reading about it, people were like, Heavy Metal did so well. I'm going to look that up really quick before I just put my whole foot to my mouth.
I'm curious. Have
Yes,
you
yes, it was.
seen many rock operas?
I've only seen 2.
Okay.
So I can't wait for next week for me over because Christmas break. That sounds pretty good.
Nice.
I saw one animated one, and then I've seen one live.
Hmm.
I'm trying to remember what. Would you call Jesus Christ Superstar a rock opera?
I think it is counted as one. Yeah,
Then I've
I
seen
haven't seen it,
three
but
of
yeah.
them.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've only seen one, which is Repo, the Genetic Opera.
That is one I have seen.
I kind of liked that
Yeah,
one.
that one
I
was
don't think it's a
good.
masterpiece, but it's
No,
fun.
no. But yeah, that's because I remember seeing like the cover with like the dude in all red, and I was like, "What's Repo?" And I didn't fucking read anything about it. I just put it in. And I was like, "Oh, this was not what I was expecting."
Yeah.
Because that's the one where it's like you rent your organs, right, and then they like
Hmm.
can repossess. Okay,
Yeah.
didn't they make a like another version of that that had Jude Law in it? That wasn't a
Maybe.
rock opera. It was just like a straight up like dark science fiction movie.
That would be weird. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna just look that up really quick while we're talking. Repo.
That one had a couple songs that were jams.
Repo Men. That's what it was,
Mm.
and it's about reharvesting organs, and it's an action movie. But yeah, like this was just an okay film. I got to watch it for free, and then I didn't. It was short, so it was 1/15 the length of The Irishman. So
Yeah.
I like we were done, and then I looked and I saw it was like 12 o'clock, and I was like, oh my god, I still have the whole day to do things.
Oh man.
Eating Nutella in bed, it's pretty great too, Mr. Perp. You should try that. What the fuck? The stream just keeps crashing on my end.
Hmm. It seems stable on mine, but
Um, but yeah, like
I mean, there's definitely some like just weird little things to point out about this movie.
I would love to hear your weird
Um,
little things to point out.
one and like I these a lot of these are things that I think are like jokes maybe, but they they just because like I said, this movie for me had that weird like um dissonance between tone and some of the content things like when Omar is that's the
Yes, the red-haired guy.
guy's name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is like trying to get into the city and tells the guy that his name is Inspector Quaalude.
Yes,
um,
but Quaaludes were also really big in the '80s, so I
yeah,
got that as to be a joke.
yeah, for sure. But then also like at one point the like three brothers who are the henchmen of Mock,
Zip,
and they get yeah,
Zip, Sleazy, and Toad.
don't they get called skinheads at one point? I
Yes,
wrote down
because
yeah,
they're skinheads.
they
A skinhead is just someone who is bald. The weird Nazi term for it came later.
okay.
But yeah, because those are called Nazi skinheads. But someone can just be a skinhead. Yeah,
All
that
right.
doesn't
Well,
always have to be Nazis.
yeah, I guess I'd only heard it in that connotation. But
But
all right. Um, but I mean, so the one that I think is like there's maybe the most to discuss about it is the like weird, egregious panty shots of Cindy,
yeah,
which just like was a weird creative choice.
I think the idea was so that everyone could see her tattoo. But at the same
I
time,
mean, it feels like there's a lot of them for that to have been the idea. But
is want some Starburst? What's your favorite flavor of Starburst? I think the joke for that one is clearly compared to someone like Angel or even the other like women who are in that club scene, she is definitely the least traditionally sexy. So
yeah,
like sexualizing the unsexy person or the unsexy person acting as though they're like I'm a super sexy person. It creates like a weird comedy thing that I think today doesn't really land any well, but you still see it and stuff. Like
yeah.
I see it in anime all the time.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's I guess I would say that was what the joke was supposed to be. Of like you're
Yeah,
supposed to be like, ugh. But I thought Cindy was a nice person, so I
yeah. I mean, she to me is like was one of the characters who I felt was a fun character.
hmm.
Um, like I I don't know. She was a fun character when she was on screen,
Yeah,
but
I liked her. I do wish she did more. She's one of the few that like showed up and then just was gone.
yeah. I think one of the things that felt really structurally weak about this movie to me was just like the role that Omar plays in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the movie starts and kind of just like he's an asshole who Angel is in a relationship with. At the very least, they're in the same band and are like depending on one another. And then like they all go to Mac's house and he's like a complete idiot while they're going in. Doesn't he keep like asking dumb things?
Yeah, he's not asking
Yeah,
dumb things. It's he keeps referring to all of the different brothers as Mock,
as Mac.
and then when
Yeah,
Mock does show up, he keeps undercutting him with like little jabs. Like his character, I think, has just enough development to have an arc, quote unquote, because it's very cheaply done in my opinion. But yeah, like when he shows up, he's kind of a jerk, but then he explains, "Well, I'm a jerk because I'm just frustrated. I know that I have a ways to go, but I want it now, and that frustrates me."
yeah.
It shows them in a car making out because they also say earlier, like, if you and Angel ever got together, as though before them going and fucking each other in the car, I guess, they were probably just friends in the same band, so maybe it was them
Mhm.
starting their relationship. So then when Mock starts moving in on Angel, he becomes jealous and does
Yeah.
jealous boy things.
Hmm.
But
That
yeah,
was a scene that I had written down as just like another weird one because it's like an establishing shot of that car bouncing there.
well, it was a
So it's
different
like,
car.
oh,
Yeah,
okay,
the car
well,
that's bouncing isn't theirs. Because yeah, I noticed that too, and I was because that is a thing that was cut from the American release.
hmm.
So when I saw that car, because like yeah, I went to the article and it was like, here's like the 20 things that were cut, and they're like bouncing car during make out point scene, and I was like, good, we're watching the Canadian version. I thought what was weirder in that one was when I guess Zip shows up and like tears the hood
Yeah.
off, like and her
Hmm.
foot is in his face, and he just like smells it, and he's like,
Yeah.
I was like, that was like one of the most like pinpoint creepy sex things I've ever seen in a cartoon. Like in more adult ones, like maybe the henchman will like ogle the heroine's like butt or breasts or something, but
Yeah.
smelling her feet for an illicit sexual thrill was something that made me go, oh. But
Weird move, movie.
weird move. To me, the only part of that of like story stuff that felt actively bad rather than just underdeveloped or maybe lazy was when Zip is watching the Uncle Mikey show, and then he just
Yeah.
goes, "Are we evil?" Like I'm like, "Oh, this is a little on the nose." Like what?
Yeah, it's like a very lazy way to set up that in a couple of scenes, Zip is going to sacrifice his life to
Sort
save
of.
Angel. Sort of, yeah.
Like that also like did you like when you were watching your version did like different like sometimes like weird filters come over the screen where like it would almost look like you were watching the movie through a CCTV or something? Like
Yeah, I think so.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
especially like when they'd be talking to someone through a thing. But also, yeah, there were just like weird filters at times. So I know that there were a lot of places in the animation where they would include not non-traditional components
mhm.
as like part of it. So like I think there was one scene where they used like actual cigarette smoke over the like shots of the animation cells to like create a smoke effect. Or like in the Mox garden scene, they used some actual like leaves from plants. And then the demon apparently they had like 10 layers of special effects going on for.
The demon's design I think was both really cool and also like incomprehensible, which
Yeah.
is good because like it's a being from another dimension that we don't understand.
Hmm.
But it literally shows up, does nothing, and then goes away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it would have been cool if it did something more. I know like the storyboard for that scene, they originally had. I had the name of this written down here. Yeah, so it was an Oscar nominee, Ryan Larkin, did the original storyboard for that scene, but then they didn't use any of that for it.
Ugh.
And yeah, like apparently a lot of like there was no script at the start of this movie. They kind of just like put it together as they were making the movie.
That feels about right.
Yeah.
But like this was a movie that I was excited for because once I found out what the movie was, I didn't want too many spoilers. I looked up what the reception was. The reception was mostly pretty positive. Like I was like, "Oh, that's good." And then I watched the trailer, and the trailer for it looked cool. Like it's like a traditional 80s where it's like, "In a world, rock and rule." And it plays a whole bunch of like shots. It's almost all shots near the end of the movie where Angel is like tied up. But then like the last shot of the trailer is when Omar shows up and he's like swinging the guitar over his head and like screaming. And it's like, and then it cuts away and it's like rock and rule. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. And then it was like, all right. Okay. This feels like something that I believe when they were making it, they wanted it to be art. And then they realized, wait, we don't know how to write.
Yeah.
And our visuals are like good enough for like pop culture, but not like, oh man, decades from now, people are going to look back and be like, look at this animation.
Yeah, there's definitely old animation that has held up a lot better, I think. But
like fucking Sleeping Beauty. That movie looks like it was made in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it was made in the 60s. And that is nuts to my brain. But I want to keep stressing for the one day that the Canadian Film Festival people watch this, because they're the guys who watch our podcast. They're the one people. They all get together in one room and watch our podcast on YouTube. To say that I did not hate this movie. It was just okay. Like it was like I'd give it like a 6.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be like maybe between a 3 and a 4 for me. But
so like you actively disliked it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not care for it.
Well, that's different than actively disliking it. Your verbiage is confusing me.
I just didn't want to be too mean to it, but yeah, I did not like this movie.
There we go. I mean, just commit. That's what people are here for. They're here for the raw, uncut, white. I'm trying to think of a white person. You're the white Don Rickles. That was my joke. That's what I tried to build, and I fucked it up. So it sounded for a split second I was going to be really racist.
I know. Well, and I came in here for some, like, I had some, like, last week I drew a nice box for,
Irishman.
For the Irishman, but this week, you still can't see it.
Nope.
Nope. That's okay. Maybe if I hold it at an angle, ooh, you can kind of see it there.
I see something. Rock. Does it just say rock and rule?
Yeah, I asked my roommates if they had a crayon because I felt my joke was going to be that that's what this movie deserved. But no one had a crayon, so I had to use colored pencil.
That's probably the meanest thing that's been said today, is that this movie deserves its thing to be written in plain text with a crayon.
Not even like plain text, like intentionally scribbled.
But I feel like there was something behind this movie that time, talent, and money just wasn't able to bring forward as hard as it was. Like this doesn't to me feel like just like a product. Like we need to make. It doesn't feel like Disney movies to me feel like now, where this was made to sell children Elsa toys. This was
I would agree on that point.
To celebrate rock and roll and rebellious stuff and weird 80s shit. And
they kind of just reached further than they... You know what? Okay, I'm going to move my score up to a 5.
Yes! That is very fair. But, like, this is one of those movies... This, The Prince... No, the Pauper and the... Fuck, what's it called? Thief and the Cobbler... And shit, there's another animated film where there's like just very that's famous for having a lot of production issues. That if those movies had the money and time and talent they needed, I think they would be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, are you familiar at all with The Thief and the Cobbler?
Mm-mm.
It is effectively an unfinished movie you can just buy. But that one, I would say, is way more art than this one. And it was a movie made by a guy who's made very famous movies. I can't remember his name, and I feel bad. Sorry, guy, but you're dead, so it doesn't matter.
What movies?
I just remember, like, I watched a documentary on this because I did write a 10-page paper on this animated film. But it was something that, like, the studio was like, we're going to give you all the money you need. And then it fell through, and they had to release, like, a version of the movie that's just, like, cut down. Like, because they, like, were starting it, and then they're like, we're going to run out of money. So they made the end of it, and then they just fucked around in the middle. But, yeah, like, if you buy the...
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm looking at the cover art for this movie, and it's reminding me a lot of the like Chinese knockoff Aladdin that I watched.
Well, this movie it's the same story that Aladdin is based off of. So yeah, it's very similar to Aladdin, and that's kind of why it started coming out. But yeah, it has like the evil vizier, but it is much darker than Aladdin. And it has cool stuff in it, but like if you watch the best version of it, which oddly stars Matthew Broderick, like it's a movie that in the original version the protagonist wasn't supposed to talk. And because his name's Tack and he's a cobbler. But then when they're like, fuck, we need to sell this in America, they're like, okay, we're going to make Matthew Broderick voice the main character. We're going to give him weird lines that don't make any sense. But yeah, in the cut that even the director's like, I will not call this my director's cut, but it's the best I can do. Like, almost a third of the movie is animatics and storyboards that aren't colored. Because they never got the money to finish it. But it does tell the whole story. And it's a charming movie. And the art is nuts. Like, there's like a shot where someone like uses a rubber band to fire like this gold ball into a machine. Like this giant war machine. And it follows it. And just all of the moving parts are hand-drawn. And it's crazy. But that's not what this movie is. This is rock and roll. And I feel if it had the money to be like, no, Cheap Trick, Paul Rudd, or whatever the fucking that guy's name is, write real music, or actually just let us use your music. Yeah. This would have been much better. But it's a thing. I don't know.
Yeah. And if they had hired a writer to make a script for them.
Yep. This is like this, to put it in another list, it's like Equilibrium, that one day when this Twitch channel takes off, and after we talk to Streaming with Chicks on Discord, and I have the money, I'm going to buy Equilibrium, and I'll buy the rights to Rock and Rule, and I will remake it in my image. And it will be awesome. Because I do think this movie has the potential to be awesome.
Yeah, it could. There's definitely some seeds of cool ideas in it.
Especially the fact that Omar's guitar has no strings on it. Like, it's a weird technical, like, technology guitar. But, I don't know. And did you have any more stuff you want to talk about? You got goofy IMDb trivia to share with us?
There was not a lot of trivia on this one, but I pulled a couple things. So I know, like, some of the voices that were considered for mock but they couldn't afford were like David Bowie, Tim Curry, Michael Jackson.
Oh, I didn't know Michael Jackson.
And Sting. Yeah. This is the first English-speaking Canadian animated feature film entirely produced in Canada. The film was originally being made with the working title of Drats, D-R-A-T-S. And it was at that point, conceived as a lighter, softer story on par with a like Grimm's fairy tale. and so it was definitely aimed for a younger audience originally, and it just evolved into the more adult movie.
Hmm.
At least that's what the IMDb thing says. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, it says this was the first Metro Goldwyn Mayer animated film to be rated PG.
Because, yeah, like, it was G meant anyone could see it. PG meant you had to have your kids. And then R was, even with your parents, kids are not allowed in here. That was what it used to be.
Gotcha.
And then...
PG, you have to have your kids, not the other way
sorry, I
around.
meant to say you have to have your parents with you. That would be weird.
This movie's not appropriate for everyone, so you cannot come in here without any children.
It's like going to a Chuck E. Cheese. It's like you're not
Yeah.
allowed in here unless you have children. Which is a bummer because their pizza is so good.
Oh man, but yeah, that's all the trivia I have.
All right. Well, I don't have any more to say for this other than I'll say if you want to just watch an old animated film that isn't bad, or if you want to watch a furry movie, where someone smells someone's feet is clearly turned on by it, give this one a look. It's free on YouTube. You'll probably be disappointed. What are you shaking your head at, Robert?
I'm just my personal advice. I think there are movies that are a better use of your time, but
are there any movies like this that are a better use of their time?
I don't know. I mean, if you want to watch an ambitious movie fall very hard on its face,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't feel like I could recommend this to anyone. Like, even if there's nothing that's doing exactly the same things that it's trying to do, like, I'd rather just watch something that's more more successful or has more interesting things going on in terms of like there are characters and a narrative that are interesting, or like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I also so like rock operas are definitely not a genre that I've explored deeply, but it's hard for me to imagine that there aren't more interesting rock operas, even if they aren't necessarily animated. Like, I don't. Okay, you know what though? Actually, I'm thinking of one that I do think is better, which is I can't remember the name of it off of the top of my head, but it's the Daft Punk movie, which I watched forever ago.
With the blue
I don't
aliens?
think it's not
That's
a great
full
movie. Yeah, it's a full movie.
Oh.
It's not a great movie, but it's, I think, better than this. At least to the extent that, like, the music is a much bigger, more integral part of it, and it's a better fit, yeah.
Gotcha.
Even if, like, that music isn't diegetic in the same way that this is, I kind of feel like that's better, but...
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I think we're going to run a quick ad break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about our top games of this year.
Indeed.
And maybe some of our bottom games of this year. Who knows? But I'll see you guys in about a minute.
Yep.
But we'll just keep talking right now. Just for rules and stuff for this list, can we include games that like released last year on console but it came out this year on PC?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have one that originally that like I'm including from this year, even though there was a version of it from earlier.
Because you played it on Switch this year?
No.
Oh, okay. That was my guess. But
I mean, it's a good guess, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you're gonna. There's not really strict rules on this. We're just here to have fun and talk about the games that we played this year that we liked.
that is true.
I mean, I don't know. I had like I know we had 3 from each category. I have
Wait,
an honorable mention
what were the
for each.
categories?
Well, it was games that released this year, and then games that you played this year but didn't necessarily release this year. Wasn't that what we'd said?
Yes, okay. I just know there was more than that. I was like, were we supposed to be like our favorite action games? I was gonna be like, oh no.
Yeah, no, it was just those 2 broad ones, and I have an honorable mention for each.
Okay. And I think we're back.
Haha,
All right. Let's talk game stuff.
indeed.
But yeah, since tonight is the Game Awards with all of the hubbub going on about what's going to be the best game of the year, we're going to take time to reflect.
I didn't even know that when I pitched this idea, so good accidental timing, me.
You did it, you. We're going to talk about the games that came out this year that we played, and then games that came out previously but we only played until right now. And those are going to do our top 3, but if people have more than 3, who cares? And we want to hear what your favorite games are.
Yeah.
So, Robert, where do you want to start?
Well, I'd just like to do my 2 honorable mentions first. Just give them a quick little shout out because I think they were really good games, but they don't make it on the top 3. There's just 1 for each category. So for games that I played for the first time this year, or not even just games that I played this year, I'm going to give my honorable mention to Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I played that game this year for the first time, and I loved it a lot. And then games that came out this year, I want to give a shout out to River City Girls because I liked that game a lot also.
All right. So what list do you want to start on first?
I don't know. I'm not picky.
I'm asking you. What do you want to do? What do you feel in your bones?
Well, would you want to do like the top or number 3 from each list and then number 2 from each list and then kind of like
Sure.
alternate and just count down to the big explosion of the best of the best?
Sure, because I've
Okay.
totally put them in an order of what are the best. I can lie about it. Okay, so let's do that.
All right.
So we'll start with came out this year.
Okay.
What is your number 3?
So my number 3 is Muse Dash. I think I
the
talked about this game with you guys.
fuck?
It's a rhythm game. So this is my one that I was mentioning that like technically came out. It was technically a mobile game in 2019, but then it got a PC and a console release this year. I played it on PC. It's a rhythm game, like a music rhythm game, which isn't a genre that I play a lot of, but I really like. I played this game until my thumbs had like red spots on them because I had like hurt myself from playing it too much. Like
Wow.
it has an art style that's great. The music is like super J-poppy, but I like that. There's a lot of songs where they have Miku or other Vocaloids voicing them. But also just like the way that the core gameplay works, simplified the like rhythm game formula in a way that I found really satisfying. Like if you're playing the kind of like older big rhythm games like Guitar Hero or Rock Band or whatever, like there's a kind of complexity to those where you've got to like remember all of the buttons and stuff. Whereas in Muse Dash, there's really only like 2 buttons and then like a couple of different ways that you're supposed to use them. Where, you know, like sometimes you're supposed to hit both at the same time, or like sometimes you're supposed to like rotate the stick around or whatnot. It's a simpler experience, but that made it a lot easier to get into the music and to get into the rhythm of the game and just have fun with it. So,
well, then my question to you is: have you ever played the game Thumper?
I haven't. It's been on my list of games that I know I should play for a long time. I've kind of hesitated. Just the big reason that I've hesitated is just because like when I look at the trailer for it, the music in the trailer doesn't sound like it just sounds dark and synthy, but it doesn't feel like there's that much there to it. But maybe if I played it, the music would be more interesting to me. I don't know. But yeah, it's a game that like if I ever see it go on a good sale, I'll definitely pick up.
Oh, it gets pretty cheap. I've seen it go down. Well, all right. For my number 3 of this year, I'm going to go with Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice by From Software. And as you know, Robert, and probably some other people in the chat, probably William, who hasn't said anything in a long time. He's probably dead because he's so old.
Or he went to get Starburst.
Or he went to go get Starburst. Will went to go get Starburst.
Yeah, because Mr. Perp brought it up, and then Will was like, "Fuck, I need some Starburst right now."
Quick aside, what's your favorite flavor of Starburst?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I like all of them. I think I'm gonna go with strawberry though. Okay. At least I'm assuming we're just talking traditional Starburst.
Yes.
I don't know all the crazy flavors very well, but I like strawberry. Cherry's probably my number 2, but I love all of them. If you give me any Starburst, I will immediately eat it.
We will do that when we stream together. We'll just sit together while Will's playing a horror game, and we'll eat an entire bag of Starburst.
Perfect. Yeah, I will eat Starburst until I vomit. I will also eat any candy until I vomit.
Any candy till you vomit? Oh man, it sounds like our new thing for sub goals.
Okay, there are some candies that I won't eat. It like if you're gonna give me a bunch of black licorice, like black licorice, get that shit out of here.
But you'd probably vomit really quick.
Yeah, but I also don't think I would eat enough of it to vomit.
You just got to boot and rally, my friend. But no,
I'd just kind of like lick one stick of it and then be done.
Black licorice is horrific. But I love the Souls games. I've played all of the Souls games that have come out and a number of their clones, or like I don't know, like Lords of the Fallen and the Surge games like that, or Sekiro, not Sekiro, Neo, and I like those kind of games. So I was very excited when Sekiro came out, and it does a lot of stuff that's really cool. The combat system was so different from Dark Souls that like Sekiro came out after Dark Souls 3 is. Playing through Demon Souls to Dark Souls 3, by the time Dark Souls 3 came out, nothing really, like, got me in terms of, like, oh, man, I don't understand this. I'm going to have to learn it. It was just doing things I knew how to do, but in interesting new ways or with new bosses, and I really liked Dark Souls 3. But Sekiro played so differently that I had, like, that restarting thing of playing Demon Souls for the first time where I'm just getting my ass kicked in the first level over and over again until I figured out how the game worked. And that was cool. I think things that kept it from being like my number 1, because when it was coming out I was like, this could be my game of the year, is I love the Souls games for their world building and the fact that it is a fantasy world, and the fact that Sekiro just takes place during a historical period in Japan was kind of a bummer. Also the fact that they made your character more of a character, like with a name and a voice.
Yeah.
It didn't.
You don't get to make your own.
Yeah, like I didn't.
There is no Bort in.
There is no Bort.
Sekiro.
And the character and acting in itself wasn't anything like super good because Wolf, the character you play as, is sort of forgettable. And then, like, the other thing is, the thing I love about Souls that we're playing it tomorrow is that we can play it together.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like that in Sekiro. Sekiro is completely single player. So if you get to a boss that's really fucking hard, just fucking deal with it and get good. Like, you can't be like, I need Dad to help me. It's like, nope.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very good. I recommend it to anyone who likes Souls games. I recommend it to people who've been interested in Souls games but have never played them because they won't have all that muscle memory from the other games fucking them up for the first 10 hours of the game. But, yeah, that's my number 3.
Nice. All right.
So
now we're going to do number 3 of games that you played this year but didn't necessarily come out this year.
Yes.
Yep. So I'm giving mine to Dragon's Crown. I think this was, for me, the year where I like really got into beat 'em ups / brawlers because I still can't remember what the difference is.
Brawlers are normally like 3D,
Okay.
but they're
So
not as intense and weird as like spectacle fighters.
yeah.
But yeah,
But anyways, so you'd call Dragon's Crown a beat 'em up
yeah,
then?
that would definitely be a beat 'em up.
Yeah. But I think that is the best beat 'em up I've played. The art is all fantastic.
I
The
want to play it so
combat
bad.
is fun. I love the characters. I like the story's dumb and forgettable, but like
Yep.
what are you gonna do? But like the rest of it is so good. I want more of it. Um, and I really want to play it with you guys. So.
I am up for it. Um. Oh, Jimmy, sorry. Do you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
Um, Nothing really.
Okay.
I mean, it's a good game.
It's a good game. Well, then my number 3 is going to be. We were talking about our top 3 games from the category of games that came out this year or games that didn't come out this year, but we played for the first time this year.
Yeah, I have one that I didn't play for the first time this year, but I played it again this year.
Well, that's
So,
cheating.
cheating a little, but
Okay.
what are you gonna do? When you hear what it is, I feel like you'll forgive me.
Okay. Um, I will say before we go forward, I do want to throw out an honorable mention so far. Robert, we did games that came out this year. Robert said it was a weird nerd game called Sprint Beat Muse
Muse Dash.
Muse Dash,
Mm-hmm.
and I said Sekiro. It was really hard to figure out what my third one was going to be because it was either that or Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds is a game that I'd waited a long time to play, and I think it does its job well. It just didn't do it enough. And there were just a lot of really good games that came out this year. If I couldn't use games that came out on consoles and then re-released on PC, then definitely Outer Worlds would have been my number 3. But since, well, you're jumping ahead. Yeah. So my number 3 for games that didn't come out this year, but I played it for the first time this year is the Resident Evil remake.
Wait, didn't that come out this year?
No, Resident Evil remake came out in 2016. Are you thinking of Resident Evil 2?
I am. Yes,
No, but Resident Evil remake.
I am a buffoon.
We're all okay. That one is one where I've played the old Resident Evil, and I actually, I guess, technically cheating, started up Resident Evil remake a year or two ago, and I was going to get to play with Evan and Will, and Evan played it for 10 minutes. We got into the second room, and then he didn't want to play it anymore, and that's where we put it down. But since I picked it up to play it for this channel, it was great. That has been one of my favorite LPs so far, and it was just like, man, this is a fun game. The writing is stupid and terrible, but it feels good, and it feels like a game that isn't made anymore today. I was never really scared. There were a couple times where I kind of went, huh, when zombies would just kind of walk through doors, which in and of itself is amazing that is a thing that could spook me, is just a thing coming through a door. So that is, I would say, a very big compliment to how the ambience of the game works. And everything like that. And there was times where it felt tense. I will say it has the same problem basically every Resident Evil game has near the end is if you are a frugal player, you've been saving your magnum ammo and then you just butt wipe the crap out of the final boss and it's like, yep, I did it.
Got him.
Yeah, so good game. That's my number 3. What about you, Will? What are some of the games that you played for the first time this year that you would put on your list that didn't come out this year? But while he thinks about that, we'll keep going. So, Robert, what is your number 2 game that came out this year?
I'm giving my number 2 spot to Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night. I played, like, that game came out, and I think I have some bones to pick with it because the Switch version is still a broken fucking mess. And like, but I think it's a testament to how good that game is that I'm willing to forgive it for that. Like, the fact that I bought the Switch version and it was not completely unplayable, but unplayable by my standards, and then like I still was willing to give it another shot says a lot. Uh, for me, I wouldn't do that normally. But just like it has all the stuff that Castlevania Symphony of the Night had, but it's better here. Like it's so much fun to explore that castle. There's so many different ways, like so many different weapons that you can pick from, and like cool, weird magic spells that you can use. There's so much to explore. I love the art style of it. Um, like it's just fantastic. I cannot praise it enough, other than the
High
Switch thing.
praise.
Indeed.
And Will blowing my socks off in the chat saying Alien Isolation is his number 3. I figured he hated the shit out of that game, so that either means he secretly liked it a bit, or he's like, I just haven't played any games this year, and this was the garbage fire I had to put here. But
I don't know. He seemed like he had fun playing it after he got over the terrors.
But my number 2 of this year is Resident Evil 2 Remake. That is a game that I had never beaten the original 2 that I can remember. Or maybe I did. I know I played it a bunch, but it was a game when I was little and stupid, and I was scared of it playing it at my cousin's house. So I don't remember if we finished it. But when they announced 2, I was like, neat, don't really care. But then it came out, and people were like, it's good. And I was like, that's cool, but it can't be that good. And the more I saw of it, the more I was like, oh, it might be okay. And then playing it, just seeing it, it's something that feels like it should be made for money. Like we're just making this to cash in on idiots who are like, I like Resident Evil. But it felt like a game made with so much care and respect to its like original stuff, but also not to the level where it's like this original game was sacred and we can't touch anything of it. It was like the second one is really good, has a bunch of good stuff, but there are some things we can change and make better because of technology that we have today. And basically all of it, even on the hardest difficulty, which I now semi-recommend, was great, except the final boss fight, which just is bad because the game really isn't designed for that sort of fight. And that is the only thing in that game where I'm like, oh, I wish they wouldn't have done this. Which is a bummer because it's like the last thing you do in the campaign, so that's like having a delicious meal, and then right before you get your check, you just burp into your own mouth really badly, and you're like, oh god, I can taste all of the vomit. Did Destiny 2 come out? Oh, you're doing the list of games that... Yeah, wait. Yeah, okay, never mind. I see what you're doing. So yeah, that's my number 2. So 2 Resident Evil games.
That was a good one.
But yeah.
I wish that I had not been too much of a scaredy baby to finish that. I'll have to finish it sometime.
It's very worth finishing, especially if you're playing on standard difficulty. Like when I did Nightmare on Leon's and then going to standard on Claire's. Claire's thing was actually honestly not scary because of how hard the first run trained me to play. It was just fun to play it. Like, it's like, oh, I learned how to play this. So I was just like shooting dudes in the heads and shooting their legs off. It was just all good. There weren't really any parts where I'm like, I hate this. Except for the final boss fight on Leon's campaign on the hardest difficulty. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But all right.
Well, you said there were 2 Resident Evil games, but this is my cheater one because there's 3. I played this game way back in the day when it came out on GameCube, but I replayed it this year. Resident Evil 4 is such a good game. If you want to call me a cheater and make me kick it off my list, then we can move Dragon's Crown up 1 and put Castlevania Symphony of the Night in the 3 spot. But
I am surprised Symphony of the Night was not in your top 3 for as much as you gushed over it.
I loved it. It was hard not to put it in the top 3, but I guess my feeling was I think Bloodstained is a strictly better version of it. And so I was like, I just want to get more coverage on my list.
Gotcha.
But
That makes sense. But yeah, Resident Evil 4 is awesome. Tell me why you
yeah,
loved it so much.
like I don't know. I like shooters are something I used to play a lot of, but I've really fallen away from them over the years. I think a big part of it is that I dislike games with bullet spongy enemies, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not what Resident Evil 4 is. Like those enemies are not bullet spongy, at least most of them aren't. Um, just like the core mechanics of it are so much fun. The exploring is so much fun. I like finding all the little treasures, finding all the weird stuff. The level design is great. Like there's some things about the way that the mechanics of shooting works that are like a little bit wonky, but at the same time, the way that shooting works today and feels much smoother owes so much to that game.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't know, it's just great. It's so much fun the whole way through.
I just hope that Capcom keeps going with what they're doing, and after because they announced yesterday Resident Evil 3 Nemesis remake.
Hmm.
It looks great. Is that they just remake 4? I would love
Yeah,
a remake of 4, and I'd play the shit out of it. Yeah, 4 Resident Evil 4 is in my top 10 games of all time for sure.
it's in mine too.
Yeah, but that is a good choice. I won't even call you a dirty cheater.
I had a feeling you'd let me get away with it.
But my number one game that didn't come out this year, but I played it and I loved it, is Kingdom Come Deliverance. That might be my favorite game I've played so far this year total. No, maybe. It's a game that is AAA, but like just barely, and it definitely has things in it that I'm like, wow, this feels janky.
Wait, that's your number two game that you played this year?
No, this is my number one game. Because aren't we on our
What was your
number?
number two then? No, I just did my number two that was not from this year.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Because my number three of of this year was Sekiro. Not this
Hmm.
year. Kingdom Come Deliver was Resident Evil remake.
That was your three.
Yes, that was sorry. Hold on. I
Yeah,
think
okay. That,
because wait, what? Oh, now I'm all confused with this list. I wish I would have written it down. I had it. I just have it. I had it over here, and I was looking at it.
all I know is that I just did my number two from that this year.
Oh man, I guess you're right. Damn it. Oh, Hitman 2. That's what my number 2 is. Spoilers. So now I ruined one and will ruin what my other number 1 is. So no surprises left. Yeah, Hitman 2 is awesome. It's Hitman is not my favorite game series of all time, but it probably has my favorite stealth of all time, which is weird because I think probably my favorite game series of all time is Metal Gear Solid, which is a stealth game. But just it's metal not metal sorry whereas Metal Gear Solid is a game that has sneaking in it, but the things that make it wonderful aren't necessarily its mechanics, it's the world and all the other weird shit that's in it. Hitman has, for the most part, with like exceptions like Absolution, been just a game about mechanics where like the story and stuff is all just sort of set dressing.
Hmm.
Especially true with Hitman 2, where the cutscenes aren't even like animated anymore. It's just except for a couple levels, you are just dropped into an open space and you have so many options to do what you want to do. You can be a super complicated person, like, I'm going to trick this guy into going into the toilet where I'm pretending to be a drug dealer, and then I'm going to give him cocaine laced with AIDS. And then when he goes back to his office and does the blood machine and he learns that he has AIDS, the weird computer goes, "We can't have AIDS in here," and kills him. And then I don't get in trouble, and it's like I was never there, and you get that weird feeling that you just murder pranked someone. Or you could just go, "There's the guy, bam, shot him in the head, squee," and then you run away through a hail of gunfire and escape anyway on a flamingo ship. But I can't think of any other games that does stealth like that where you can be like standing 10 feet away from your target and you don't have to be crouched under a table holding your breath. It's you get to just have that weird illicit voyeurism in a Hitman world, which I love so much, is that it's like social stealth rather than staying in the shadows or climbing around on pipes like Sam Fisher would do. And yeah, that's my number 2 because it's just Hitman 1, which was great, but more. And I'm glad I waited because I got all of the game with all the DLC for like $20.
Nice.
Great deal.
Indeed.
All right, so I guess now we're going to our number 1 game that came out this year.
Yes.
Okay. What is
All right.
yours?
I feel
what
like
it is,
it's not going to be a surprise. I almost feel kind of bad giving it to it because there's a part of me that doesn't feel like it deserves it, but at the same time, it's the game that I love to death. Pokemon Sword and Shield. Gotta be it. Like, I love Pokemon. This one does not live up to what I think it probably should have been. But at the same time, I also think it is the best entry in the series so far, and I love that series to death. I love so many of the new Pokemon. I've been having so much fun playing it. I just want to play it more. Number 1, Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Oh, but you didn't play Sword and Shield. You just played Shield.
I mean, they're essentially the same game.
Does your version have the girl in the Eevee costume that basically admits that she does cocaine?
What? I didn't hear what you said there.
Oh, does your copy have the girl who wears the Eevee costume that when you battle her, she admits that she does cocaine and her mom and dad have weird BDSM sex?
I don't think so.
All right.
It does have some weird stuff though. My favorite is there's one house that you can go into, and there's a girl sitting on a couch and looking at 2 Litwicks, which like what Litwicks do is if you look into their flame, they slowly sap your soul out. So like that girl is just sitting in that room slowly dying.
Like, if you talk to her, is she dying?
I mean, she doesn't say that. She just says that she's like entranced by the flames and really loves looking into them.
Oh.
But I mean, like, if you understand what Litwicks do, you know what that means.
How many Nictits do you have?
Nickets? The little fox one?
Nickets, yes, sorry.
I don't know. I'm sure I have. I caught one early because they're like on the first route, but
I think that's
it isn't a Pokemon that I raised.
My favorite Pokemon in this one for its stupid, charming name.
Yeah, I like the first stage of it a lot. Like it's super cute. I like the name too. But then, like, when it evolves, it just gets this dumb-looking mustache, and I don't like it anymore. Yeah.
Hold on.
Called Thievul.
Yeah.
Thiul.
When I looked at Thievul, it didn't look like it had a mustache. It does have a mustache.
Yep.
Huh. Yeah, Nickit is cute. Thievul, no thieving. All right.
Yeah.
Well, my number 1 game that came out this year, which is sort of a cheat, but is Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC. I don't know what I have to say. Everyone knows it's a great game because it's just Rockstar just pouring decadent amounts of money and talent into game ideas that have very solid premises and foundations, and then surprise, the game's just fucking awesome. It's also a weird game because it has like a bunch of shit that no one except Rockstar would put into their games, / no one except Rockstar could get away with putting into their games without people going, what the fuck? This is stupid. Like, the fact that you have to like eat to maintain your weight, or like when you walk, like there is like a lifelike locomotion to your characters. That means like you can't like stop in 180 on a dime. So that can mean like when you want to turn around, you can like turn around, smack into a post, and fall down, and that's hilarious. But then there's also like weird shit that like your horse testicles get smaller when you go into the mountains because it's really cold. And at nighttime, when you're near a fire, it causes Arthur, your character's eyes to dilate. But it's also fucking weird because, spoilers, the game has an epilogue that runs for like 13 hours.
Man.
It's like a whole nother game. And it's good. My only problem with that game is that it is a prequel. And I hate prequels. But I loved Red Dead Redemption, so I was willing to break it for Red Dead 2, and it turned out to be great. But just knowing, like, the whole time you're playing it, you're like, man, 90% of these characters that are really good friends with the dude you play as in 1 are not in 1 or mentioned in 1, so they're gonna die. And it's just the whole time you're, like, watching for an invisible clock just to show up on their head and be like, that motherfucker's gonna die. And Rockstar, being the best, honestly, in my opinion, the best game developers out there right now, they know that, and they fuck with you a little bit. Where it's like, oh, they're clearly setting up Death Flag for this guy or girl, and then they don't die, and you're like, oh, okay, but they're gonna die, and then they make it through the whole game, and you're just like, what the fuck? And it's awesome. It's a great game. The first Red Dead Redemption, the main character, John Marston, was someone where I'm like, man, I don't see how they could make a better protagonist than this. He's just a relatable, good person, well written, but I think they did it. I think Arthur Morgan might be a better character than John Marston, which is bananas. And if you haven't played it, and this is to you, Robert, fucking play it. It's awesome. That's my whole thing. So, number one game that didn't come out this year, but you played it this year.
Indeed. So, I think I'd already mentioned one genre that I got into this year of
The
beat 'em ups. But there's another genre that, for me, really opened up this year, like I'd never got into them before, which is platformers. And the game that I played that made me really love them,
no.
and it's the dragon that I keep chasing every time I pick up another one, is Shantae Half Genie Hero.
Oh, okay.
What did you think I was going to say?
I was afraid you were going to say Celeste.
No, not Celeste. I haven't played Celeste. I was Shantae. It's so much fun. I love the level design, love the characters, I love the humor of it. It's just a blast to play, and the way that I felt playing it is just like it's the pure fun of playing a good game. And I just want more of it. I'm excited to play the next one. I'm not entirely sure when it comes out. Maybe it's out already and I've just been an idiot and not noticed, but
I don't think it's out yet. I don't think that comes out until 2020.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
The one that had the trigger intro?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that comes out until next year. I mean, I've definitely raided into enough channels and seen people playing it, and they're like, yeah, it's pretty fun. I personally, to not shit on Robert too hard, I don't think the writing's very good and the game looks really boring. But I'm also not super into platformers. But I am surprised that is your top game.
Yeah. I mean, like, so I wouldn't say that the writing is good, but I think the comedy writing is good. Like,
that's okay. That's what I also mean is not good. I don't know.
I think there are some bits in those games that made me laugh a lot,
but I'm also dead on the inside, so it really takes weird, obscure, really good timing jokes to make me actually laugh out loud. Usually, I'm just like, ha, or all right. But no, just I probably seen 3 hours of that game between hanging out with people in Twitch, and I was just like, yep. This is a game. Not that it's bad, but to me it's like the game equivalent of Rock and Rule. Which to you, I'm sure that's a much bigger insult to you than I'm meaning it to be. But it's just like, yep, it's just what it is, and it's porridge.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I definitely don't think it's a game that everyone would love, but it was a game that I connected with, and that
That's
for
what
me
matters.
opened up a whole new like genre of things for me. So, and I think there are like platform adjacent genres that I also gave a new chance because of this game, like Castlevania, like Metroidvania type stuff.
Okay.
I don't think I would have tried Castlevania Symphony of the Night if I hadn't tried Shantae Half Genie Hero.
Well,
But
then there you go. That's what makes it good. Now, my question is, which of your games at the top of your list are your favorite? Do you like
what do you mean?
Pokemon more than Shantae, or do you like Shantae more than Pokemon?
Yeah, I like Pokemon more, but
Okay.
um, I think I also like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night more than Shantae. But
Oh, that's right. The Blood Ritual. I mean, that came out this year. I was like, then why is it
Mhm.
higher? But okay, I see what you're talking. This was just a good year for you, then, wasn't it?
it was. I played a lot of games this year that I really liked, and a lot of games from like genres that I hadn't, tried much of before. So yeah, it was a great year.
Nice. And then my number one, which I dumb boy idiot started talking about before, is Kingdom Come Deliverance. Um, it is an RPG that I have wanted for a long time, where it really felt like, even though you had to fight, it felt like there was usually an option to not have to murder someone, which I can't even say for like Outer Worlds, which I expected that to be the case a lot of the time, where, where you could do something other than kill someone, which, to be fair, you can do that in Outer Worlds, but usually just meant before having to do the thing to kill someone, if you had a high enough speech stat, you can just be like, what if we don't murder all those kids? And they're like, yep, you did it. But in Kingdom Come Deliverance, rather than just having a speech check to be like, hey, don't kill all those kids, you would be like, man, I could find a paper that makes it so that when I buy this house, I become the Lord, and then I get to banish that man who wanted to murder all the kids. And stuff like that. There was just a lot. The characters were good. Um, the combat did take a little bit to get used to, but then once I got used to it, it was good. It felt better than like really like anything that Bethesda has done for their first-person combat. It still feels like it needs some work, but I know there's a sequel coming. At least I thought they announced a sequel was coming, so hopefully it'll get better. It's another game where I thought I was going to be really bummed because it doesn't take place in like a made-up area. It's like, this is a very well-known part of history, but even then, it didn't feel like it's still felt otherworldly almost. Like, it was so well put together that I felt like I was there, and that overcame that emotion of like, well, I know what happens in the Battle of 1486, so it doesn't even matter that this character's here. But yeah, I put over 100 hours into it. All of the DLC felt good. Henry, the character you play as, is probably in an RPG, because I'm not including. Because normally except for like The Witcher, maybe, like, to me RPGs, the writing for the protagonist is normally not that good.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
because you were trying to like fit in, either you are playing the nameless, faceless protagonist and you just have a bunch of lines to pick and it's just to get to point A to point B, or the writers put so much energy into the lore that when it's time to make your character vomit words out of their mouth, they're just kind of like, I must do this because of Valhalla. But
Yeah.
Henry is just a really well put together character, and you see him grow from being this sort of bratty-ish peasant kid who's dumb and doesn't know how to read to basically being a lord. And it doesn't feel like you just jumped to it. It felt like it built appropriately. And my only real major complaint, which isn't a super huge complaint because I know there's more coming, is like the ending isn't very satisfying because it's leaves on a cliffhanger. There's like a minor spoiler is that like when you start the game, you are given a mission to basically get revenge, and you never get to finish that mission. the end of the game is you riding to a different country to work on something else. And yeah, you just never get to resolve that revenge thing because in the world of Henry, like, that doesn't become as important anymore as taking care of thousands of people. So, like, thematically, that also felt really good. Is that, like, yeah, you still want to get revenge on the dude who killed your parents, but you have been given this massive responsibility to help your kingdom, and that's what takes precedence. But I really recommend it, and it's a game that, like, I feel worried recommending it because people will be like, oh man, I'm going to pick it up and just start hacking, slashing away. No, it's a game that slow boils. You get tutorialized at for like 10 hours because there are a lot of systems that you need to learn how to do stuff to be able to survive. But then once you know what you're doing, you just get to do whatever you want, and it's a game that gets away from a lot of stuff, a lot of hang-ups that are easy to do. I don't want to make games, so that's really shitty. Like, the thing I'm getting at, like, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'm playing it now, how they sort of want to control how you travel through the world and how you experience it is they just slap levels on areas where it's like, this is a level 40 area, you're level 10. If you go in there, every enemy is just going to punch you in the butt and you're going to die. Even though that guy looks exactly like the level 10 dudes you're butt punching right now. It's just because the god of numbers gave him a whole bunch of steroids and he can just kick the shit out of you. Whereas in Kingdom Come Deliverance, you can basically go wherever you want once the game world opens up, and they sort of I'm trying to think, naturally kind of direct how you go, is because there'll just be enemies that have better equipment than you because they're like the army of the opposing nation or something. So you're like, well, I'm not strong enough, I don't have the skills, and I'm not actually good enough at the game right now to try fighting 5 of those dudes at a time. But if you are, like, oh, this is my second playthrough, I know what to do, you can spec into being a stealth dude and just go into their camp at nighttime and just stab them all to death while they're sleeping, and you're like, cool, I got all this loot really early. But then if you fuck up sneaking one time and everyone wakes up, you gotta get the fuck out of there. But it's just really good. And I recommend it to anyone. But yeah, those are my games. And I will say, of the games, if I have to pick a best one, I'd probably give it to Kingdom Come, only because I did play Red Dead 2 on on console last year. And Kingdom Come just feels so different from every other game in that same sort of setting. Like, it does not feel like Skyrim. Yeah. Honestly, my ideal first-person RPG would be the fantastic elements of Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls series with sort of the grounded combat and simulation aspects of Kingdom Come. If you could put both of those together and somehow have an okay magic system but still have a thing where you fight dragons as just a dude, that would be my jam. And my peanut butter and the bread holding the two together in a delicious sandwich.
Well, there you go.
There we go. And since it's just Will and he's not talking anymore, I think that's about everything we have for today, isn't it, Rob?
I think so.
All right. So do we want to prep for next week, or we're still doing this next week, right? You don't have any.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Because that'll just be the 19th. Since I recommended this movie, I actually wouldn't mind watching Heavy Metal at some point in the future, because I know that is a much better movie. But we can take a break from 80s Canadian animated films for at least a week.
Yeah.
Yes, we are doing Dark Souls tomorrow at noon. But
well, so I had 2 movies that I was thinking of for next week.
Okay.
So I'll pitch them both and then let you pick.
Mm-hmm.
One, have you ever seen a movie called Exit Through the Gift Shop?
No.
So it's ostensibly a documentary. I think there's an interesting discussion to be had about whether it actually is or not. But it's a sort of a documentary on street art, but then it's also follows this guy who goes by the name Mr. Brainwash, who like sort of hits the art world out of nowhere, and it's kind of taking a look at the way that the art world is sort of manipulated by advertising and that kind of thing. And then it also pretty heavily features, are you familiar with Banksy?
Yep, he's the one who directed this movie, right?
I think so. Anyways, it's a really great, really interesting documentary. I think there'd be a lot of cool things to talk about. The other thing I was going to pitch is that Millennium Actress is another Satoshi Kon movie, and it just got the like Blu-ray re-release that I pre-ordered this thing forever ago because I want to have all the Satoshi Kon movies, and now I do. But yeah, I would be very excited to talk about that too. So.
Oh, is it on Amazon Prime? Is it?
I know it was for a while. I don't know if it still is. At least Millennium. I don't know about Exit Through the Gift Shop.
Yeah, Millennium Actress. That's what I was looking for.
They might have taken it off now that the Blu-ray is out, but
I think it's on Prime Video. It says watch for $0 with Prime. Yeah. I'm up for watching Millennium Actress if you want.
All right, let's do it.
Because I know you said you wanted to watch that and then Paprika.
I want to watch Perfect Blue also. I want to watch all the Satoshi Kon movies, but
oh my god.
Yeah, I wanted this to be the next one we watched.
All right. And then did you have a topic for the second part you wanted to do?
I did not. I don't know. Do you have any ideas?
I mean, we had a few written down. Like the ones that are popping into my brain right now are like, what are the best and worst tutorials in games? Do we have any other ones written down?
Yeah, they're probably in some of my old notes, but let's see. Maybe it'll be in this one.
And if we don't figure it out now, we can work it out.
That's true.
Later, I don't know. I honestly have maybe not explicitly, which I should, is I was kind of leaving this more up to you since this is sort of like your thing on the channel. I want this to be all the stuff that you want to do the most. I'm just sort of here to ride. So if you're like, man, I want to talk about this topic, I'm like, all right, let's talk about it.
Gotcha. Okay, I found my list. I think we've done a lot of these already, but so yeah, best and worst tutorials is an option. I think I had my impertinent game questions, where it was like you'd find silly things that don't make sense if you think about them too much in games, but they're just kind of like in games anyways. You could just kind of have a fun discussion about that. Or I think this was one that you pitched, but it's an idea that I really like, where it was if you had the ability while playing a game to stop and talk to the character as a player, what would you want to talk to them about, and like who would you want to talk to and stuff? But
I'm up for doing that one if you want that one.
Okay,
I think I'd have more stuff than currently the important, like pertinent game question ones. Because you have a good one with the why are people writing help on the walls?
Yeah.
But like my brain, every time you bring it up, I'm like, I don't know what I would talk about. So if you can talk about it for 40 minutes, I am happy to listen to all your things, but I don't know how much content I would be able to bring to the table for weird questions. But okay, so Millennium Actress, and if you could basically talk to NPCs in games outside of the context of their games,
yeah,
what would it talk about? It's kind of a weird one that's going to be hard to describe and write in like 1 or 2 words in the title next week, but
yeah,
we'll figure it out. But
you always come up with clever ways of doing that, so
I mean, just for the OK Podcast Bad People, I don't know. I just wrote Rock and Rule / Top Games of the Year thing, so
yeah.
If that's the...
I don't know, I'm just saying, yesterday you pulled someone into the stream just with the strength of your title, so...
That did work out, I forgot. Makes me feel good.
That was a good title too. Once he said that, I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's pretty funny.
But I think we will raid into. You know what? Hotter Dad is playing Enter the Gungeon, and I know you like that game.
I do like that game.
So we will visit him. But anyway, yeah, tomorrow in the afternoon we will be doing DS3, the three of us. It'll be awesome.
Indeed.
We may have a stream tomorrow evening, but it'll be late if we are doing it because we are traveling up to Wichita to hang out with Casanova the Great, and that is we'll be hosting his channel. But it's just Casanova the Great, but it's instead of the word great, it's GR8. So anyone who is possibly seeing this now and not responding to me talking will be on his channel on and off over the weekend, but then we'll also stream for our channel and he'll be there. It's just going to be a bunch of weird shit. We're going to be playing board games, playing VR. It's just going to be a hodgepodge of stuff to just hopefully get as many people to stare at our dumb faces as possible. Hopefully it'll be fun.
I'm sure it will.
But anyway, until next time.
Bye.
Bye.